Hey guys, Dr. Caffery here. Today I'm going to be discussing with you hidden causes of fatigue. Over the next several weeks, I'm going to be performing a video series discussing hidden causes or contributors to fatigue. So hidden cause number one is inadequate iron. So iron is something that we need to produce red blood cells so we can carry oxygen to our tissues so we don't become anemic. But a lot of people don't necessarily have anemia, but they just don't have adequate iron stores in their body. And this is highly associated with fatigue. In fact, there's research that says if your iron stores are too low, there's a marker you can look at in the blood called ferritin. If those ferritin levels are below 50, then that's associated with chronic fatigue and non-anemic females. So that means it's not bad enough that it causes anemia, but their iron stores aren't adequate and it results in fatigue. So understand, a ferritin blood marker is not typically looked at with a blood analysis. And even if it is looked at, the reference range for a ferritin marker may be like something like 12 to maybe 2 to 300. So if you're less than 50 but above 12, that ferritin is not going to be flagged as abnormal. So you have to look at this marker in a special way and understand that if your ferritin levels are less than 50, that's a sign of diminished or decreased iron stores and can result in fatigue. This is something I commonly see in women, with fatigue-based complaints. You don't typically see this with males. This is more something you see with females because a lot of times you see heavy menses are a common contributor to this. So what causes this low iron? Well, there's three basic things it boils down to. One is you're not taking in enough iron, or you have a very high demand or high need for iron. And understand that the iron you're taking in matters too. So there's vegetarian sources of iron, which are called non-heme sources, and their absorption is very poor. Or there's animal-based iron sources, which is from like red meat, and that's a heme-based source, and the absorption of that is very good. So sometimes it's just you're not taking in enough, or there's a very high need, like in the case of a high-level athlete or something like that, or pregnancy or something of that nature. Number two, you're not absorbing your iron. So this is a not uncommon scenario. You may be taking in the iron, but you don't absorb it in the gut. A common correlate with this is having inadequate stomach acid, what's called hypochlorhydria, low stomach acid. This can give you things like gas, bloating, distension following meals, particularly protein-based meals, can sometimes manifest as heartburn, reflux, things like that. Low stomach acid can contribute to poor absorption of iron. The third thing is you're losing iron. So you could be taking it in, you could be absorbing it, but you're losing excess in some way. And very commonly with women, we see this with heavy menses, and I'll refer you to my series I'm doing on progesterone. That's a common symptom of progesterone inadequacy or deficiency. But you may also see it with fibroids, or you might see it with gastrointestinal bleeding, different things like that. But most commonly, we see issues where people are not taking it in, they're not absorbing it, or they're losing it because they have heavy menses or heavy periods, those kind of things. That's the more common scenarios. So remember, if you have chronic fatigue, especially if you're a female, it's important to get your ferritin levels checked, make sure they're above 50, because ferritin levels below 50 are associated with fatigue. And then if your iron levels are low, it's important to ask the question, why are they low? Is this an intake problem? Is this a utilization or absorption problem? Or is this a problem with I'm losing iron somewhere in excess? So work with a practitioner that can identify and look at those things and help you get to the root of why you're having fatigue and if it is an iron-related issue. I'm Dr. Caffery. Thank you so much for listening.